Okay, welcome back to Built by Becker. I believe this is episode 17, which is really cool. We are approaching the number 20. I can't believe it's been this many episodes. And today I have a very special guest, a friend, a networking partner, a true good resident and community supporter right here in Naples, Florida. Mr. Tim Philbrick.
Hey, how are you doing, Blake?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for coming on Built by Becker.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course, man. And I'm just honored to have you. I'm honored that you said yes. I remember when I started a podcast, you said, I want to get on. And, and so many people have come and gone. And here we are. We're here doing the podcast. And I thank you for coming. It's an honor and privilege to sit across from you because of, kind of how we met, which was through business networking, right?
Absolutely.
And so I love when things like that come full circle. You never know why God puts people in your life for whatever reason. And when people's paths cross, you don't know like what's going to happen or what can happen. And as long as we have open minds, like there's so many possibilities and opportunities that can come just from meeting people.
Absolutely.
And you're one of those guys. And first off, I want to thank you because when we met, you were in a position and working for somebody, and you invited me into a networking group. And at that time, I was just a little handyman and plugging away at my little handyman business. And you introduced me to a lot of great people, and it's been nice. It's been good. That's one of those things, it's just one of those introductions that led to a lot of new things. And now we're in the same circle, and we get to see each other a lot. And from that, a friendship, and then a lot more has unfolded, right?
Absolutely.
And the stuff we know about each other and the circles we're in is it's all merged together, and it's been cool, man. So thank you for doing that. You might not have known what you were doing at the time, but it was a big help for us, and I didn't know what was going on either. But here we are today.
Well, there's invisible hands and everything, and really kind of neat that we both met somewhat in a transitional stage in our lives. As I was trying to make my career as a business consultant right before COVID, and you were just getting your business started right before COVID, and as that hit, we both kind of exploded into these new opportunities and growth together. It's been fun to watch.
It really has been. It really has been. So let's go a little bit into your background. From what I know of you, right? I know that you now work for Avow Hospice. You're wearing the logo on your shirt. I also know that you were a business owner and you owned a printing company.
Yes, yep. I was in business down here for 20 years.
Yeah.
As a business owner, started from a very small operation of 3 people, and really kind of grew my community roots out of desperation. I was really just kind of working to keep my job because the business was struggling, and we started to, in the summer, had limited production time, and as the afternoons opened up, I just went home, took a shower, threw on a tie, and started cold calling with no knowledge of what I was doing or how I was doing it, and just happened to fall into a nice area through Marco Island and built quite a business out of it. And
lovely.
It kind of went from there and bought the business not too far later from that.
That's awesome. And then, who did you work for? Refresh my memory. You were working for, and I don't remember your exact position when we met. You were working for, I think...
It was for Business Dynamic Solutions.
That's right.
Yep, I was partnered with 2 wonderful women, Jessica Masseria and Chris Wolverine.
Shout out to Jess.
And it was a great experience. They were phenomenal to work with. And it was a great mixture because Chris was a lawyer. She had the legal knowledge of business. Jessica had a doctorate in organizational philosophy, which means, it's a mouthful. But she was able to bring along the how do we create an organization? How do we create, good HR plans and everything? That was her background. And then you had me in there who had been through the whole gamut of business, from small businesses, successful business, to community-oriented business. So we made a good team when we started working with a lot of small businesses, helping them develop themselves, because what we found was there's a lot of people that are really good at what they do and not really good at business.
Yeah.
And helping teach them that side of the business so that they could continue to do their craft and build their business was kind of, it was a great experience.
Because I've been one of those. So I was very good at a lot of areas in my business, but a lot of areas I did not know how to do or needed to be taught how to do. And that's something that when you start a business, they don't hand you a manual and say, here, do all these things and everything will go smooth and you'll understand everything and everything will be great and business will be wonderful. Because that manual doesn't exist, and that doesn't exist in any business that I'm aware of. You do have to learn through the struggles. You do have to learn through the heartaches and through the successes, and you know, you got to learn what your strengths are, and you got to hire people that help you balance out your weaknesses.
That's what I was just going to mention, is that you got to know who to trust too, because at a certain point you can't do everything.
Yeah.
And finding the right people to surround yourself with that you can trust and know that they'll do a good job for you. That's a challenge.
It is. Every business that's going to scale or wants to scale is going to have to be able to eventually let go of some of the responsibilities and learn to trust people and hire accordingly to build a successful team. Because as a single person, I know my business grew to a capacity, and I had to start, bringing people on. And when you and I met, I had just brought on Angie. And that was a big step for me. It was a big hire. It was a lot of money. And it was like, what am I going to do? But without Angie, I couldn't have gone out and networked. Without networking, I couldn't have grown my business, and then I couldn't have hired and, all those things that came after that. So, you have to go through those steps. You have to go through those motions. And, if, like I said, you have your eyes open and you're open to the possibilities of what other people can do when you meet them and around, if you're aware of those things, it can be an opportunity for growth and success.
Yeah, I always saw that business, everybody thinks that it's just a straight line curve. You start from 0 and you go to 10. And I kind of likened it to a diving board. If you want to get the highest dive and you want to be able to make the most impressive splash, you've actually got to take a couple steps back first before you make the jump. So, you might go from 1 to 5 and then drop back to 3 and then go to 7, then drop back to 5 and go to 8. It's an interesting journey. And that's really where business people have the hardest time, is trying to figure out when do they take that step back, because they know they don't ever want to go back to the struggles that they had when they were at the 3. That's right. But the end results usually end up being much better.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about hospice.
Yes.
How long have you worked for Avow Hospice?
Well, I've been over 3 years with Avow, and your experience with Avow and what the people know about Avow is primarily hospice, which is still one of our services that we continue to offer, and it's what we're most known for, which is helping people in their transition. Once it's become time for them to realize that they're going to be transitioning, hospice comes in to help them. And what I liked the most, and when I joined, one of my inspirations of joining Avow was how they helped the family, because my dad was to the point where making him comfortable was what was important. But at that time, my mom was so burdened with the thought that she was going to have to be the person responsible for making him comfortable and taking care of him and all the way through. And once Avow came in and said, we will do this for you, it was almost like a baptism for my mom, because then she could just be the wife that could love and could care, and actually even be there for me and my sister as we were going through the process together. Yeah. Because she knew Dad was taken care of and that he was going to be comfortable. And that's the type of gift that hospice gave. And that's what made me passionate. I never intended to be a fundraiser.
Right.
I was a business owner. I was very philanthropic in my business. I always supported the not-for-profits in town where I could. And it was interesting being small business. When somebody comes to you and says, can you write a $2,500 check?
Oh, I get it. I get that call every day.
That's a hard thing to do. But a great example was I had a great partnership with Catholic Charities where, I said, well, I can't really write a $2,500 check, but I'll tell you what, I'll pay for my labor, I'll pay for all the materials, and give me a $2,500 printing project and it's yours.
Yeah.
And, people think that, well, that's kind of kind of a side door
cop out
to
or
philanthropy,
It's
but
not,
it's
though.
really not.
I know lots of entrepreneurs that do that exact same thing.
Well, it works out great.
I know caterers who do the same thing. Cover my labor, cover my food cost, and I'll give you a $5,000 dinner that's only going to cost you $900.
Exactly. And
Still a $5,000 dinner.
yeah. And what it does is it allows that organization, instead of spending the $2,500, $3,000 on an expense, now it can take that money and put it towards the services. Right. And we get a lot of those with Avow, and it's really been a blessing to us, because now that money goes back to patient care. Yeah. Whether it's with our hospice or our palliative care, which is actually growing immensely. That's for people that have had life-changing diagnoses, but not necessarily terminal. Yeah. We're actually seeing more patients in palliative care than we are in hospice right now.
Makes sense.
And also our grievance support with our kids and our adults. But so when those monies can go to those services, that just makes things so much better for the overall community.
So 3 years at hospice, what's a typical day like, first of all?
Wow. Really depends on the year, or the time of the year, I guess I would say. There's a lot of things that go into it. If you're looking at the end of the year, obviously everybody's looking at end of the year donations, making sure that you're getting your taxes in line, things like that. If you're at the beginning of the year, we're in season. So right now it's all about the experiences that our donors are going to get, whether it's going to be, going for the car show, which is at the end of January, or doing an annual luncheon or happy hour for our people that have given continuously over a great number of years, that have been very gracious to Avow, or whether it's going to be the butterfly release that's coming up. So the first quarter of the year is really more event based, and then the middle 6 months is really where the work comes in, because you start your planning for the next year. We do our annual planning, we do our soliciting. When we go to talk to our donors, we start showing what we're planning on doing for the next year and trying to find out where they want to be involved or how they want to be involved. So that a lot of that's done in the summer months. Yeah. When everybody else is taking a break and going on vacation, we're working towards the next year. So a typical day really depends on the time of year, but it's always full.
Yeah, I love it. What has been the most rewarding and then the most challenging part of your job?
The most rewarding. There's so many different rewards that you get, from the little things, like if I wear my Avow branded shirt and I go into Publix, I can guarantee you somebody's going to stop and say thank you. Yeah. I even had one experience where I was wearing my Avow jacket, and this guy in a souped up big old Ford 250 had it jacked up, and he had one of those rail horns, train horns in there, honked it. I damn near jumped out of my clothes, excuse my language. And the guy rolls down his window and says, "You guys are awesome. I love Avow. You guys are awesome." Yeah. Those type of things are really great. But probably the first time that I ever really got emotional in feeling the impact was the first butterfly release that we did at Avow. You were a part of that, and your mom was helping that day. But just as everything was coming together and everything, you just got finally a chance to sit back and just look and see what was going on. The hand of God struck down, and the people, our music therapists that we use at Avow, started playing the song "For Good," which is out of the musical Wicked, which was also the song that was played at my father's funeral. Wow. No coincidence. And that was, I still get a little touched, but that was really the moment where I knew Dad was looking down and saying,
little signs to let you know that God's got his hand in all this stuff.
If you knew my dad, anybody around him had a bruise. He was punching him in the arm saying, "Look, that's my son. Look at what he's doing." And it really was quite a rewarding experience to know that so many people were being touched that one day.
That's good. I love it. I'm glad I got to be a part of that.
And you still are.
Not knowing that it had a very special impact on you. I'm just there doing, what we do and what you asked us to do. And so that was a nice story. That was nice to be a part of that, small little part of that. So I'm going to ask one more question, and I want you to tell us about a special event that Avow is going to have coming soon. How has working at Avow changed your perspective on life? I mean, that's the hospice part, but maybe even the new part you guys are doing. The people who are having these ailments that are life changing. Has this changed your perspective on life?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. The being healthy is a gift.
Yeah.
And it's something that should be really garnished and appreciated. And if you have health, do everything you can to stay healthy, because that's you see the struggles that people go through. But the other part that you really come to realize is there's always somebody there to help. And people sometimes are so proud in different ways they're raised. I mean, you and I are raised by a generation that was stand tall, act like a man, don't let them, never let them see you sweat, never let them see you cry. And having that generation right now that needs the help, having them accept it is really, that's life changing for me, and trying to get that message out to say it's okay to ask for help. And the faster that you do it and the more often you do it, the better off not just the life for yourself, but the life for the people around you are going to get.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be whether it's palliative care, life changing, or hospice where you're talking about a transition, or grief.
Yeah.
When people are dealing with grief, it could be mental illness. It could be spiritual. If you're having spiritual struggles, whatever it might be, the generation behind us is getting much, much better.
You guys, and this just reminded me, a dear friend of mine just lost his mom, and you guys offer any services like that, like any therapeutic services?
Absolutely.
If the person didn't pass with Avow, is there a service for, like, I could, maybe buy a gift card or something like that and give it to him so he could go in and talk to somebody about it?
Well, the neat thing is you don't have to buy a gift card, because our bereavement support is 100% free to the public. And it does not have to be anybody that's gone through Avow. It can be, we have a number of people that might have lost a loved one up north, but they're down here. They're going through the grieving process. They need help. Our Center for Grief Support is
100% free.
100% free to the public, and 100% funded through philanthropy. The community funds
through donations.
Funds the program.
Thing. You heard it here, guys. So the donations to Avow help fund a service of grieving.
Absolutely.
And what's the hours for that? Like, how do you?
They work with them. I mean, they've got evening hours, they've got day hours. Wow. They do individual grief support, and a lot of times they'll try to get them into, depending on wherever their stage of grief is, get them into group support eventually, to where they're working with others that are at the same stage of grief that they are, so they kind of work through it together. So
got it.
It's a phenomenal program. Leah is our program director. She is wonderful, and does a really great job with that. And then we also have our kids program that is also free to the public. And what's a little bit different between that is that our adult grief deals with loss through death. Our kids program deals with grief of any kind. We partner with the school systems. If they have anybody that is going through divorce, if they're dealing with deportation, in some cases, deployment, if they've had a family member that's been deployed,
service members,
anything that the school identifies that these kids are going through grief support, our Avow Kids program will go in, meet with the kids, get them off. We've got a specially designed home for them, Aunt Janet's house that's right on the south side of our campus, that is specifically for our kids programs. It's actually going through an expansion right now. And it's really neat to see how these kids really just blossom by dealing with their grief instead of having to hold it within.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much for that. Now, let's get into your event. You got an event coming up.
Yep.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the event and when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, give us the details, why it's going on, and what it represents.
This is our cornerstone event. It is the biggest event that we provide to the public that really represents what our mission is, and that's to provide compassionate care to those who need us. Mm-hmm. And so this particular event is our butterfly release. We have it at Cambier Park. It's going to be Saturday, the 29th of March. And it begins at 9 a.m. with a butterfly exhibit. We've got a butterfly tent that's 20 by 50. It's a mesh tent. And we have somewhere between 900 and 1,000 butterflies in that tent.
Wow.
And our volunteers, they call that their Disney moment when they get to release all the butterflies into the tent.
I've had the opportunity to do that, and that's fun.
It's a great opportunity for our volunteers and our staff to really enjoy one of the things that we do. And then from 9 to 11, we have the butterfly exhibit is open for people to go in and have their moments. Some people will grab their butterfly and get a picture of it, and that will become symbolic of their loved one. We have 6 different kids stations where they do face painting and balloon painting and origami and things to keep the kids involved. And we've got a dance crew coming down from Lee County that's going to on stage in that 9 to 11 time. They've got a 6-year-old group that is going to do a butterfly dance. They've got a couple of older teens that are going to do a butterfly ballet. And then our ukulele, they were there last year and they were fantastic. We've got the Hugs group, which is a ukulele group, and they are just when they're done, you just want to hug every one of them. I mean, they're an adorable group, but they help with their performance. And then 11 o'clock begins our remembrance ceremony, and we have about anywhere between 800 and 1,000 people at the park at that time. Yeah. And for an hour, we intermingled with a few readings and a few musical interludes. We'll read anywhere between 800 and 1,000 names in memory of, listed one at a time. And then once all the names are read, the butterfly the butterfly tent, that they're in is specially designed to be opened. So after all the names are read, the tent actually just falls around itself on the frame, kind of like a disappearing act, and the butterflies are all released. Wow. And it's a great opportunity to remember a loved one. People pay for their names to be read. Yeah. All of that money goes to our bereavement program to help the people that are in the grieving stages. But it's our cornerstone event. It's
a wonderful service. My grandmother was on that list one year. Yep, and we appreciate that.
And it's an undertaking. We show up at 6 a.m.
We do, yeah.
And there's nothing in the park by 9 o'clock. It's all set up, and then once the event's over with, we're out of there by 1. So it takes a lot of volunteers to do it, and it really is. It's really neat to see everybody come together and put on such a special event.
Really is. So thank you for doing that. And let's roll into a little bit more. You kind of delved into it a little bit. Entrepreneurship, career transitions. What inspired you to start your business when you did?
What inspired me to start my business when I did was really finding something I was good at.
Okay.
I wasn't a great printer. I could run a press. I could put ink on paper, but my cousin was better at that. My cousin Dale was a great printer, and as time went on, we hired other great printers to work with me, and we have a common friend, Donnie.
Yeah,
he was a great printer.
Shout out to Donnie Pratt.
Yeah, that's my boy, and. The one funny thing about that is that Donnie always knew when a job was going to go south when I started to try to go in and help. But in the meantime, I garnished a lot of community involvement. I was very involved with being out in the community. I was very involved with philanthropy. And I found that my business actually, the more I got involved, the more my business grew, because as people knew me, not just as a business owner, but as a quality individual in the community.
Yeah.
When opportunities to do business with them came, they started doing business with me.
Of course.
And as the market changed with printing, as all things with internet,
digital
stabilization of printing, pricing, whether you're not at a local market, you're competing internationally. Margins were going down. You're starting to see that in the industry. Little guys are selling to bigger guys so they can get the volume. But it was a good time to sell when I did.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the consulting. COVID submarined that. And believe it or not, it was a hockey mom. I was coaching my son's hockey team.
Yeah.
And one of the players' parents worked for Avow and posted it up on Facebook. And I said, you know what? I've been involved. I ran the golf tournaments for the chamber for 15 years. I was on a board for a healthcare clinic at East Naples. We were doing fundraising there. I was in the fundraising world.
Yeah.
I was never doing it professionally.
Got it.
And they took a chance on me. I mean, a lot of people, when you bring somebody with sales and marketing and put them into a fundraising world, it's really kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It's not really looked fairly upon because salespeople are transactional. If you make a donation, you're going to get this. Well, that's not philanthropy. Philanthropy is if you're going to give, it's going to go to this.
Right, right.
And it took a little bit of a change in my mindset. But honestly, I think that road was the road that I was destined for. Because this is what I love to do. I wake up every morning wanting to do it,
and it exudes in your enthusiasm and your smile, and you light up when you talk about it, which is great. So I guess we're glad that you're out of the printing business and you got out at the right time. But what was one of the best lessons you learned as being a business owner?
One of the best lessons I've learned is you're only good as the people that work with you.
That's right, your weakest link.
Yep, and that's even evolved a little bit in my philanthropy too, because some of the things that I've learned now that I'm getting the statistics and everything, what are the benefits of corporate philanthropy and everything. But one of the biggest ones is that how you treat your people and how you empower your people make them more loyal to you. So when our boy Donnie, he was a football coach, Ethan and Owen, went through their football programs. When he came to me and said, "Can you sponsor?" My answer was always yes. Can we get this for the family? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything that you could do for your employees, you would do, and that also included. And then this is a little bit where the culture of employees have changed. Is that if you've got a good employee, you have to be flexible.
That's right.
Because replacing that person and retraining that person and getting that is very difficult. So if any way possible, you can make that person feel valued, make that person feel comfortable, make that person feel that they could be the best version of themselves in the job that you've have them doing for you, then you will get the best out of them. And we see that now on the philanthropy side, because if you are showing that to your employees and sharing that with your employees, look at what we did as a team. Not only did we build this fantastic place, but look at the 1,000 people that we helped at the butterfly release.
Right.
It made them feel comfortable. People, they feel empowered by that.
Yeah.
And it really is a neat thing. But yeah, you're only as good as people you surround yourself with.
I love it. I love it. Now, for someone who was self-employed, right, and then had a transition to going to work for others, what was that like? I know me.
Humbling.
I 100% got out of working for others so that I could be my own boss, because that's just my mentality. Not saying I couldn't do it if I had to, if things went south and the Becker legacy crumbled on itself and I had to go work for somebody else. I think I could be humble enough and do it. But how is that experience for someone who's been through working for yourself, being your own boss, to taking directions from somebody else?
Yep. It is humbling. I mean, it really is, only because you're always been in charge of your own destiny up until that point. And after that, your destiny now lies in depending on the guidance and what the goals and objectives of somebody else are versus yourself.
Yeah.
So being open was really something that was a challenge. And I felt I did a very good job of that. But listening to your peers, listening to your leadership on their ideas and the way they do things, and the way they do things might be different than what you had done in the past. One of the things that I really had to learn was that the bigger the organization, the earlier you have to communicate. Because when you own your own business, you can do anything whenever you want.
Right.
But when you have to respect other people's times and schedules and timelines, you got to get the communication out way earlier, so that they can actually be able to work with you versus you working against them.
Does age play a role in where you're working now, working for others? Because do you have people that work above you that are younger than you, or do you have people,
I have both.
because when you're the owner, like if it doesn't matter if somebody's younger or older than me, I feel like I have that position of power to, they're going to do kind of what I say or what I suggest. But it's funny now, I have a project manager who's in his 60s. And so he does, if I suggest something, he does it. But then I also don't push him to do things outside of things he's used to doing and that he's good at, so it's like when you're working for somebody that's younger than you, or when you, like my case, I have someone who works for me that's older than me that has probably more experience than I do. It's a topography you kind of have to learn how to traverse. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's good. I mean, because within my team, I have one person that is older than me.
Okay.
Has a lot of experience, and she does a phenomenal job. She's a major gifts officer. But everybody else on our team, including our chief philanthropy officer, is younger than me. And it is, for me, it's invigorating because I'm seeing new worlds and new opportunities, and one of our core
breathing new life into Timothy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
and one of our core values is innovation. So we're all being challenged to be innovative.
Love it.
And what's really
what are your core values? Hold on. What are your core values? Let's
oh my gosh, you're going to get me because I'm not going to get all of them. Celebration is one of them.
Celebration.
Innovation.
Education.
Those are the only three that I can.
Those are good. Those are three good ones.
Yeah, those are the three that I can remember. So sorry, Avow, for not. The innovation, celebration, the education are really the ones that are more in focus for what I do with the fundraising. We do.
You want to know mine?
Yes, please.
Focus. My acronym is FACTS. FACTS. Right. Focused, accountable, consistent, teamwork, and solutions.
Those are awesome.
Yeah. Core values.
Those are awesome.
Shout out to John Huffman for that.
And if you have those well defined, I mean, they're a part of our evaluation.
Yeah.
So
I can run the test against every single problem and every single employee if they are living up to those core values, where we're lacking or where we're succeeding.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's nice is that if everybody understands those values, I mean, I had a great meeting just before I got here with you. We have a person that was an intern with FGCU.
Yeah.
She was phenomenal as an intern. We hired her straight out of FGCU. Part of our annual plan, we all work on our annual plan together, which is fantastic as a team.
All right.
It's not one person saying, here's what we want to do. We all put our minds together. And one of our ideas was to try to get ourselves more aligned with a lot of FGCU alum, because there's a lot of them here in the Naples area and the Lee County area. And both myself and my teammate Tabitha are FGCU alum as well. So we coordinated together to try to find innovative ways to try to get people on campus to introduce them to Avow, what we do and how we do it. And she came up with one today, which is going to be great because now we've got something innovative. They do these speaking opportunities, and they're always looking for venues. Well, we've got the venue.
Right.
You are in it twice a month.
I frequent it often.
So those are the type of things that really make the core values important, because now we're coming up with something new.
I love it. All right. One piece of advice for someone out there starting a new business.
Have a solid plan.
Business plan.
Yep. I don't care if you're a mover. I don't care if you're a builder. I don't care if you're a printer. Of all people I've worked with, cabinet makers, it doesn't matter what it is. Put together a solid business plan, because the business plan really defines where you want to go, how you want to get there,
who you are,
and also the resources that you're going to need.
Of course.
And that's the resources are what everybody really, I'm just going to, we've got some great cabinet makers here in town.
I'm going to wing it.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of wing it out there.
I think of cabinet makers and plumbers.
Yeah.
They all go out on their own, and sooner or later they end up going back away from it, only because they're really good at what they do and they know they can.
They did not have a plan.
They did not have a plan.
A vision.
Yep.
Without vision, we're going nowhere.
Exactly.
I have to know what I want to do, how I want to do it, and how I'm going to get there, what it's going to take to get there, even if I don't have it. I know what it takes.
Yeah.
And I can break down what I need to do to get to it. And, with that plan, create step-by-step goals and actions. I'm very, very much into the vision and the plan.
Yeah. And 5 and 10 year plans are great. But the other thing too is having an honest conversation with yourself, because when you go out on your own,
Challenges.
you're your own paycheck. You're the
That's right.
last one to get paid. Your vendors get paid. Your employees get paid. Your rent gets paid. You're the last one.
And sometimes you don't get paid.
And sometimes you don't get paid. So you need to have an honest conversation with yourself and with your family when you start a business to say, what can we live on
Yeah.
for the next 2 to 3 years while I build this company? And that's a struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah. We're going to get into some fun stuff now.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I heard from a little bird that you might be a little bit of a Michigan Wolverines fan.
Proud to say that I was a class of 1992.
Shout out to Michigan.
Shout out to the Blue. They're a great school, a wonderful school, and really helped form me.
What'd you go to school for?
Music education, believe it or not.
Nice.
I was started out thinking I was going to be a music teacher, and was working in the music world down here in Naples at night while I was working in my family's printing business. Found out that there's a lot more money in business than there is in education, and decided to go that road. But don't regret any moment that I spent there. And I really find that the university itself, whatever you want to be, they can make it happen for you.
Wow.
And that's really empowering within that within that school.
Within those, 4 walls, so to speak.
Exactly.
If you want to be anything.
Anything you want to be, you can be.
The resources are here to help you get to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So shout out to higher education for that. Love
Absolutely.
it. Top 5 Michigan football players.
Ooh. Well, I can't go without saying Desmond Howard.
Okay.
I mean, he's been not only just such a great player, I mean, Hall of Fame player, Heisman Trophy winner, but great ambassador for the school, and the way you see him on television, the way he represents himself. I mean, I can't put anybody better than him. I mean, I gotta go. I gotta shout out to my hometown with Glenn Rice. I mean, he's a Flint boy for the north side of Flint. Took us to a national title basketball wise. Great professional, but again, another great individual. I really think I really loved his game, and very much like him was Jalen Rose. I mean, out of the Fab Five, he's kind of the guy that got it. I mean, he was out of Detroit Southwestern kid, and had a little bit of a shady history, in being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But he was always a great guy with a great heart. And he's returned. I mean, he's giving back. He's got his own school in Detroit now, where he's trying to get underprivileged kids a chance to go up. So not only was he a great player, but again, represents the school.
2 more.
And phenomenally. You can't go without the GOAT. I mean, Tom Brady.
That's right.
I mean,
out to the GOAT.
The man, the myth, the legend,
That's
but
right.
also the guy that just always said, I can be better. I mean, he was never a regular starter. He was alternated at quarterback while he was at Michigan. I was privileged enough to see him in his last collegiate game at the Orange Bowl, where he led a overtime win over Alabama, which was great memory for me. But drafted in the 6th round, sat the bench. For him, it was always about being the best version of himself, and never accepting somebody saying that you're second string. I mean, he was a walk-on at Michigan. He was never even originally offered a scholarship. So you gotta love the
underdog.
Gotta love the GOAT. I mean, he's just a driven individual. And then, I mean, I think the last person I probably would say really isn't a player, but just embodied everything Michigan, and still is such a great ambassador. And I was sorry to see him leave the sidelines, but Coach Beeline was just he was just a gentleman's gentleman.
Nice.
Really brought out the best in his players, brought out the best in the university. and still represents the school immensely. So, Coach B, still love you, and I know he's a Naples resident.
Okay,
Yeah.
Shout out.
Oh, you had to get me to 5. So, I mean, Jim, I tell you what, Jim
knew Patrick was getting antsy over there, and he couldn't keep his mouth shut and had to interrupt my podcast. But go ahead, sports guy.
Charles Woodson, loved him. Was a great player, very inspiring. And again, represents Michigan very well in public. Jim, I tell you what, Jim was my style player. He really was. Always kind of played with a chip on his shoulder, and he coaches that way too. And I know he's very polarizing. You know, you either love him or you hate him. But right. Somebody say, you know, that Jim Harbaugh's a jerk, and all I can say is, yeah, but he's our jerk. Yeah. I mean, he's just so driven, and I think he really changed his coaching style after COVID, and really made it more of an experience for him and the players instead of just business. And I love to watch that transformation in his coaching style. And you can even see what he's doing with the Chargers. But yeah, I'll stick with my 5 though. My 5 are pretty solid, especially, you know, I had to get my Flintstone.
It's your 5, but Jira likes to answer people's questions for him. So we'll keep that one there. All right. One piece of advice you could give your younger self. What would it be?
Be less in the moment.
Be less in the moment?
Yep. I have a history and still can see it come out in myself that I was here, hold my beer guy.
Yeah.
And I would say that sometimes just stepping back for a second and kind of saying, is it really worth it?
Okay.
And making sure before that you basically looked at the pool before you jumped to make sure there's water. You know, okay. That wasn't necnecessarily me as my younger self.
A little bit more conservative, Tim.
A little bit more retrospective, I guess.
Retrospective. I like that. All right. Now, where can people find the information that you share with us on Avow Naples today?
You can see everything right there on our website, which is avowcares.org.
Okay.
And everything is there in our calendar for events. Our butterfly release right now, the pop-up is there. So when you open the lead page, you can go right to it and register a name if you are looking to register a name, or if you're looking to donate, you have a donate now up at the top. And if you're looking at our programs and services, they have a tab there that explains all of our programs and services. The one neat thing that is really coming out now is that as of today, we are servicing over 1,100 patients in Collier County.
Love it.
Between our hospice and our palliative care, which is more beds than all of NCH has available.
I love it.
So we are really out there, and we're doing it well with a very small and mighty workforce that really make an impact on our.
And are you 100% donation based, or is it?
No.
How does that work?
We start every year in the hole.
Okay.
And that's why I have a job. Yeah. Because we make decisions on what we provide based on quality of care versus the cost of care.
Okay.
And that's two very different avenues of what makes your decision as a hospice and palliative care organization. So our board makes our decisions based on quality of care. And that means that we are going to be short based upon what we can get from Medicaid, traditional insurances.
Okay, so you have other resources
Yes.
that bring in revenue.
We'll take whatever's available to us.
Got it.
But we will never, ever turn somebody away or reduce their services for what they can or can't afford.
I love that.
So, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you are in your time of life. If you need our services, they're going to be made available to you.
Having worked for numerous 501c3s, charitable groups here locally, I get to hear some of those groups have that same philosophy and that same style of never turning people away, et cetera. I love that about them. I love that about our community and the donors that provide the extra that's needed to make these services so great right here in Naples, Florida. And Tim, I thank you so very much for coming on and telling us all about what you do now, what you did in the past, and a little bit about who you are. And I couldn't be more thankful for today, and thank you for joining Built by Becker. It's been great.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
Been awesome. Thanks.